The humble guitar pick. Perhaps no element of your rig is more underappreciated than guitar picks, except for maybe strings, which we also talk a fair bit about on this channel. Today, Andy and I want to run through some of our favorite oddball picks and things that we use as picks, even if they're not technically picks, to show you that this is one of the things that you can spend the least amount of money on that can have the biggest effect on the way that you play the guitar and the way that your guitar sounds. Simply grabbing a different thickness pick, a different shape, or different material can have an immediate effect on the tone that is coming out of your guitar. When I'm recording, I usually keep like a big pile of different picks that I'll just grab for different parts. If I'm strumming, I'll go lighter. If I'm playing lead, I might go for something pointier like this guy, or harder or heavier. Whatever it is, they can have a huge effect. They're usually pretty cheap, and Andy and I both have a couple weird little kind of secrets that we want to share with you of things that aren't not technically picks but work really well for us. So stay tuned. Andy and I are going to kind of swap back and forth and compare some of the picks that we really like, and I'm curious to hear what you think of them. So here's how this is going to work. Andy and I have both filled a mystery pocket with some of our favorite Plectrums and Plectrum-like devices. Andy has a mystery cuff on his pants. Got a squeaky stool. That'll be all right. That'll be all right. So we're going to randomly draw one and present it to the other and see what the other one thinks. I can roll this first if you like. Sure. Let's see what we get here. It's kind of fun. I should just do this while recording. Okay, cool. So this one, somebody gave me these at NAMM. It's a T1 aluminum pick, which he swore to me. I told him, I was like, isn't that going to ruin the strings? He's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, but it will. I mean, it's not aluminum, it's titanium. That's right. So it's harder than string material, so it will wear them. But he assured me it'd be fine. But I don't think it's fine. But it reminds me of how Brian May would use like a 6-pence coin. So give that a quick whirl. Sure. We don't have to spend too much time on each one, but.
Yeah, when you angle it, you really.
Yeah. It's bright and scratchy.
Kind of ghoulish. I don't love for hybrid picking because it sounds so different than flesh or nail. Yeah.
Yep.
Didn't Van Halen play with the metal pick sometimes?
I feel like I've heard that.
Yeah.
No. Yes, he played with a copper pick. He would keep them in his mouth.
Oh.
Well, let's jump on to part 2.
Cool. I'll put that in the used cuff. First, I have here. Ooh. This is a D'Andrea ProPlec.
Oh yeah, so D'Andrea, if you guys don't know out there, are like the OGs in American picks. They still make picks, but all the like old celluloid and like really cool mosaic style picks that you see that were like actually cellulose acetate and will light on fire if they get near a flame. Those are D'Andrea. They've been making picks forever and ever. So these are cool. It almost looks like a baseball diamond, you know? I'd heard like Joan Jett had used one of these once. I've never played one. Interesting. So the first thing I notice is how rounded the bottom tip is. You know, I have to be really good about my technique to really to have much speed. I can't really glide across at an angle, which I do a lot. But very cool. And this ProPlec material I know is kind of like their version of an Ultem, as far as I understand it. It's like a thermoplastic. All right, next up, I'm just gonna make a pile down here of your precious picks that I asked you to bring in today. Oh, cool. Okay, so this is from Rambo, which is a newer pick company in Germany. They make these, they look like they're molded to me, all sorts of different varieties and shapes. We have some of these around the office we've been playing with too. One thing I like, I'm not sure if it's these or not, but they have some that they'll use pre-consumer recycled plastic, which is a little bit better than like a virgin plastic. It's still not quite post-consumer, but I think that's something really cool in the pick world to be able to use materials that are, you know, slightly better sourced. But this one's cool. I just really like the ergonomics of how this one works with its kind of strange hole that it has going on.
Oh yeah, and there's some interesting sculpting on here, which seems to be Rambo's thing.
Yep.
It feels, the sculpted tip feels faster than the titanium.
The only thing I don't like about it is that logo that they have on there gets pretty close to the tip, and I'm just a sloppy picker, and so I end up grabbing the string with the logo sometimes.
Yeah, you can kind of
right
hear
there.
it scratch, yeah.
It's not too bad, I just notice it sometimes.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's really bright too.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a thin sound.
And I think that's the material, largely.
Next we have, oh, this is a Dunlop jazz tone.
Jazz tone.
Called. Yeah.
I know they have the prime tones and the jazz threes, so these are the jazz tones.
Yeah.
And the prime threes.
These come in a lot of interesting shapes that are kind of abnormal for the Dunlop line, and they're a much thicker and darker sounding material, which I like. Kind of a similar thought process, me buying these as the DeAndrea Proplex, where I wanted something kind of dark and warm but exacting. But these have a little more finesse when you play them.
So something that I love about Dunlop as a company in general, most people couldn't get away with this, but I don't know if you can see, they have the little JD logo that they used to have in the past. They're one of the only companies, most companies will have one logo at a time, and they change it on everything. They've got like their 90s logo on, like the string winders still, they use this a lot. They have like 7 different logos from like different eras of their brand, and they just like keep the picks with that logo. I don't know if it's they got the stamps or the molds already made and didn't want to change it, or if it's an intentional choice, but I kind of like it. You kind of get the logo from the era in which the pick was first made when you get it. So I'm excited to play this. I'm actually borrowing this guy, and I'm like, how does there's no switch on here. I'm not sure if this is, anyway, we're just gonna go with it. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a brighter guitar, but seriously, super warm, like large, but not in a cumbersome way.
Yeah.
And I like the shape. You know, it's got a decent like point to it, but also some size. Altogether, pretty cool.
Yeah.
The JD 203.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's see what I get up next here. Ah, cool. Okay, so I was hoping this one would come up sooner than later. So this is a coarse pick, which is cool. This actually came from a Kickstarter where a guy made picks that were coarse on one side and not on the other. So a lot like the old Hercos, things that the Edge used to use. So you get that grippy, sort of sandpapery sound. What's cool about this though is that you can use it as a standard tipped normal pick in either direction, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and I've talked to the guy who made these. It's pretty cool. They're still available for purchase online, though I'm not 100% positive they're still a company. I don't really know how that works, but I have some and they're pretty fun.
So I'll try the standard side first. Then I'm gonna try the coarse side. You can really hear that. This is the smooth side. You definitely do get a lot of that edge kind of biting.
Yep. We're almost using it like a violin bow, which is pretty cool.
That's interesting.
I've never thought to use it like that. That's very cool.
That's fun.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, honestly, a lot of country guys will seem to use more coarser sides of picks as well as like the Edge. You just get that grab. I don't like it for everything personally, but it can be a cool thing to experience once in a while.
Yeah, I think if I was trying to go for my normal stuff with the side that's grabbing a little more, I'd definitely like fall out of time.
Yeah.
But having, be able to do little tricks like that and kind of get different sounds, it's a lot of fun.
And having it both on both is what's cool about that pick,
Yeah.
I think.
I agragree. Let's see, next we have where'd it go?
They get lost in the cuff there?
Yeah, I got a little lost in the cuff. This is a pointless pick. It is. This is one of the first strange guitar picks I had ever seen at my local guitar store where I was growing up, called Guitar Asylum, and they sold these kind of as like a grab and go thing at checkout, and I was so like enamored with it, but I could never understand why this would exist. And I always went home and tried to play my picks backwards, and I was like, no, it's still not good. And then they had closed down and disappeared, and years later I found one in another guitar store, and yeah, I've probably had this for like 4 years now, and it's, yeah.
It looks like a UFO.
Yeah.
You know, the question is really if it is as pointless as it asks us to believe that it is. There's a patent pending at once, and pointlesspicks.com is probably a URL that hasn't worked in many years, but it's right on here.
Last time I looked, it was like the Space Jam website.
Yeah. Just still there, an old vestige of old time. Huh. Okay, so this is actually one of the most fascinating ones that I've tried, because you're picking with this wide, flat surface. To pick anything, you have to be just in line. I mean, you have to be just moving very vertically up. I can almost see it being good as like a pick trainer in some regards, because I've mentioned I usually hit with it at an angle, and you can't do that here. You really can't. But for strumming, it's a powerful strum.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it really grabs. I mean, because you're just hitting it with a baseball bat, basically.
The amp is distorting more than it has with any of the other picks.
Yeah, it is noticeable. Crazy idea. It's one of those weird things in guitar history where you're like, who had the idea? Why? You know, what were they trying to achieve? Does that guy still play with one? You know, is he like, this is the best thing ever? Has he unlocked new like heights of nirvana in guitar playing that you would only find if you only played this pick for 10 years?
Yeah.
We may never know. This is cool. These are really cool.
I have one other thing, may I show you, that I use it for? And you don't need a pointless pick for this. I also have a like wooden, you know, drink tokens or poker chips or something, but I hold it to the strings sideways and I kind of scrub with it. I call it pick bowing.
Huh. That's cool.
And I've tried to do this with standard picks, and inevitably, here, I'll give this to you. So this is like a standard Stringjoy orange, but with something like this, there's a flat edge, but there's still these kind of hips to it, and inevitably, it catches and like goes away. So.
Yeah, but you could do that all day with this.
Yeah, which is why there's.
Is that why there's like a small flat worn in? I was gonna ask if that was a feature or a bug. That is really cool. So I have to. Okay, I shall go next. So this one's kind of crazy. This is from Bog Street. So what they did here is basically, you know, for the guys out there that are like, I have to have 3 different picks for every song, for my rhythm, my lead, and all that, I'm going to make 3 different pick tips. So you have slightly different kind of tensions on each of these little tip ends. And then this one's like pointed and also stiffer. And then you have 2 different, like a thin and a frog. I don't know what the frog means, but yeah, kind of crazy. The question is if it's all that intuitive to adjust while you're playing. Sure. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
I haven't played with this one as much, but I got some sent to me and thought they were pretty interesting.
I'm going to start with the thin side. Kind of sounds froggy. Yep. And this is the frog side.
Oh, that's more froggy.
Yeah, definitely more froggy. And then this is the thickest one.
It's not a frog at all. So they labeled the frog correctly.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, definitely like the thing I would use a thin pick for is easier with that. And then I'll try like a faster pick, which I'm not too good at tremolo picking with a thin pick, so we'll try that. I'm going to try the thick side now.
You can hear the tonal differences.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something I'd like go for mid-song, but if I did have something that I needed like very deliberate, like I did switch between those two.
Yeah, it's doable. I'm sure with some practice, it's super easy.
Yeah, that's true. Interesting. I wonder if there are any sounds that could be found in kind of the weird in between.
I wondered that too. I haven't played with it much, just picking with that big old plastic.
Yeah. This is a strange one. This is a blue chip.
Yeah.
These are maybe my favorite for acoustics. I think they have a kind of very thuddy, low, warm thing that goes great with a bright guitar.
Mm-hmm. So I've heard of these guys. They're very expensive, but they're in Knoxville, and they have a patent on this particular material. It's a material you can buy from DuPont, but they managed to swing the patent on it. So they're the only ones that can use this, and it is a very cool material. I know you're a big fan of these guys. Way warmer than the other picks I've been playing. I do have to say, I mean, that is a pleasing tonal character, all in all. It's just very warm, and I could imagine that for acoustic, just sounding fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of, not a ton of attack to it. It blooms a little bit more. I'm a fan. I understand the hype about these. I mean, they are pricey, so I mean, you got to be in the right position to be able to do it, and losing one would really stink. But they're cool all around, I've got to say. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. If you can hang on to a pointless pick for 4 years, you
can hang on with one of those. Yeah, that makes sense. So my last one, this is my new favorite pick company. So this is Honey Picks. And they offer these in all sorts of different varieties. They're similar to like a lot of the acrylic picks like V-Picks or Gravity. I really like their particular opaque material and the way that they colorize them, the options they have for grip and all that. Seriously, super cool company, one of my favorites. So this is their Beekeeper.
Cool.
I have a couple different ones lying around. I didn't bring my favorite of all of them because it's at home and I was worried about losing it. I need to get some more. But all sorts of different shapes, and I think just the handiwork on them is what's so unique.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I hear something like acrylic, I usually think of like V-Picks or Gravity, and they're bright for me. They're a little too, especially someone who mostly plays clean. I like how those will push a like already distorting amplifier to kind of a brighter place. But this has a nice like warmth to it, but there still is like a brighter element over the blue chip.
Yep. It's a good balance. What I find in general is those acrylic type picks, the very hard, usually thicker picks, I like for lead playing. If I'm strumming and stuff, I don't like them as much. I usually go thinner for that sort of stuff. But I love that pick for lead.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, so last I have in my cup of wonders, a Straplock. This is kind of the Grolsch bottle style Straplock. And I think they make great picks.
So not a thing that you would ever think of. They are not sold as picks.
No.
They are Straplocks or Strapblocks. This is one of ours, I believe.
Yes.
Is it not too soft to pick with?
It is a different thing. It wouldn't maybe replace your daily driver unless you're using like a felt pick or something. But the timbre change is so extreme, and the lengths that we go to get that new pedal that gives us a cool new sound, when you could maybe just like fish something out of your junk drawer.
Yeah, seriously, or like $1 at worst if you don't have one handy.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of fun.
I'm very excited, okay. Wow, okay, so I have to see if I can actually pick with it. Not impossible to go up and down, but it's not easy. That's a little bit tough. Okay, so this is actually one of the coolest things you've shown me. I think it would probably take some effort to get so precise that you're picking, consistent lines with it. But even just strumming, the way you can hear it kind of knock from one string to another and feeling that whole chord sort of spring up all at once. The way it chimes is really, really unique. And it almost, when it does that, sounds like more like a finger than it does like a pick, sure. Which is very, very cool. I'm curious how you use these guys. About the same way? Or?
Yeah, about the same way. But I try to emphasize, give a little more of the flesh there so it really plugs.
How cool.
Different.
I love that.
And they seem to last. I've never worn one out doing this.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's not bad. And you can always use it back as a strap lock. Yeah.
That's right. Or a knob saver on a pedal.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that.
You put it under.
Huh. Well, that's really rad. Yeah. Well, in general, I think that's our very last pick to show you. We have even more in our collection, so maybe one day there'll be a part 2. But seriously, like I said at the beginning, picks are one of the coolest, most inexpensive ways that you can change the way your guitar plays and sounds. If you're in a rut or just wanting a different sound and want to hear what it sounds like, there's no reason not to grab a different pick and just see what it does for you. You'll probably have your favorites, like Andy and his blue chip, but you'll also probably find a lot of things that are really great for one particular vibe or song or something like that. It's very cool. So we always, as usual, encourage you guys to experiment. If you have a favorite pick that we didn't talk about today, let us know about it down in the comments.